I like what I'm seeing when it comes to ICP, and no, it's not the price because let's face it, the price isn't doing good. So it's not about that. But even though nothing I say is financial advice, it's about the fundamentals of the internet computer and why I think that really it's preparing itself for what could very well be such a bright future, maybe. Because, of course, not too long ago, I was talking about the Solana and ICP integration and how that was live. Of course, that's very amazing because Solana, very massive layer one blockchain. I think that is such a big, hypothetical victory for something like the internet computer. But the way you take a look at it is this. There's more when it comes to this because I think the internet computer is kind of beginning to solidify itself as one of these major players. Like for instance, of course, we all know that Chain Fusion now extends to Solana, but then ICP smart contracts can now interact with Solana as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is very amazing. Bitcoin, of course, the largest project we have out there right now. Ethereum, many people's arguable number one go-to layer one blockchain. And I think beyond Ethereum, some people can argue, like the BNB chain and whatnot, but really Solana is beginning to become one of the premier layer one blockchains out there. So this is what I like about it. Other projects out there, they only want to do things when the market is doing good. They only want to do things when the price is pumping. But then in theory, that can't always be the case, right? Because if a project wants great longevity, it has to be able to kind of deal with, at a time where the prices are low. Because the prices are not always just going to keep going up in theory, you know what I mean? So then the way I take a look at it is that through the ups and downs, I want to see a project really focus on their fundamentals. I want to see a project continue to kind of innovate in a sense. And the internet computer, in my opinion, is doing just exactly that. And also we take a look at kind of the hype surrounding Caffeine AI and what that could very well bring to the internet computer. Maybe moving forward, we'll have to see how it really does in a fully fifth gear type of way in a sense. But again, allegedly the world's first ever self-writing app platform. I mean, when I take a look at Caffeine AI, it could be such a massive thing as well. So when I take a look at the internet computer, they're doing a lot of things. And if we take a look at, again, having these, capabilities to be able to interact with like Solana, Bitcoin, and Ethereum in terms of ICP smart contracts, it's a big bonus for me because especially when it comes to something like Ethereum and Solana, where we take a look at the projects there, they're very amazing. Now, Bitcoin, I get it, it's more so kind of like a store of value, but then the way I view it is that this is still very amazing. And people out there like to, kind of debate with me and say, oh, if their computer is so good, why is the price going down? Well, here's the thing. A lot of altcoins are going down. It's not like ICP is the exception to that rule. And even if, let's say, ICP was the exception to that, I would kind of feel like the fundamentals are still good anyways. Like, what bad thing happened to their internet computer, fundamentally speaking? It's still very fantastic in my opinion. It's still trying to focus on decentralizing the internet. It's focused on decentralized AI. We take a look at it can connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles, allegedly. Not to mention, again, we take a look at news like this. We take a look at maybe what Caffeine AI could bring to their computer. If anything, I feel like even though the price of ICP isn't doing good, I think the fundamentals as of right now are actually really good, in my opinion. But then, of course, it doesn't match the price. And the price is affected by many things, right? Like the market sentiment, of course, also like people selling and whatnot. It's not determined by the fundamentals, if that makes sense. At least that's the way I view it. And let's say ICP were to go to the price of $100 in a make-believe scenario. Now, if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $53.5 billion. That's around a 20x from here. I'm not saying it will happen because who knows? I can't control ICP in any way. But then the way I take a look at it is this. BNB back in 2021 reached a market cap of over $100 billion. And we have to take a look at how when it comes to something like, BNB back in 2021, the factors I think were way less bullish than right now. Back then, at the peak of that bull run, around 300 million crypto owners. Now we have over 600 million according to Crypto.com research. And again, we have this much right now. And I can arguably deduce, right, that I think the altcoin space and just the crypto space overall isn't necessarily doing the best. So if let's say that is the case and we already have more crypto owners than ever before in history, what would the amount of crypto owners look like if let's say there was more, bullish sentiment when it comes to this space? If let's say Bitcoin was able to reach the next leg up, whatever price it may reach, again, let's say it does break a barrier and let's say it reaches like 150 grand or whatever, I would automatically just assume logically that maybe the amount of crypto owners at that point would be more, right? So then we have this much already right now. And again, the space isn't doing the best. So then imagine what it would do if, let's say, it was doing good. So I can't tell the future, but then I just kind of don't see why the quote unquote, bull run is over or whatever like that. Some people think, oh, it's game over and all this type of stuff. I get it when it comes to Bitcoin, it's done very well and altcoins haven't really showcased that. But in my opinion, I kind of feel like better days may be ahead. And I think really these low prices of anything, they're giving me a chance to really just continue to dollar cost average into the projects that I do believe in and just stay consistent that way. And I think if anything, these low prices, if we take a look at it, not too long ago, a lot of people were kind of like, wishing the prices were these low, right? Because a lot of people that I know out there, not too long ago when ICP was doing pretty good, they were like, oh, why didn't we acquire at this price, at this price? Now that the price is becoming a little bit low, a lot of people are suddenly saying, oh yeah, no, we don't want to believe in it anymore. And that's totally their choice. Like, I can't control anyone, but the way you take a look at it is that this, if anything, is kind of like a time machine for me, right? I still believed in ICP back then, but then now that the price had a pretty big pullback, I'm not going to complain because I'm still dollar cost averaging anyways. When the price of ICP was low, I was accumulating. When it was doing pretty good, I was accumulating, and now I'm accumulating too. And it doesn't mean that I'm going all in, and it doesn't mean that I'm only acquiring ICP, because what I'm doing is that I treat this more like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. So again, anytime earned income, anything that I do have left over, like, extra income that I would have saved anyways, I just put into my favorite projects, and that's really about it. I'm not day trading. I'm not using leverage. I'm not swing trading. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not focusing on the price charts every 5 to 10 minutes. That's just not what I do. I treat this more so as just like, a consistent kind of like marathon. And again, that's the only thing I can control. But really, the way you take a look at it is that I can only control myself and just focus on the projects that I do believe in. So when I take a look at something like the internet computer, when I take a look at what it's doing, when I take a look at the fundamentals, it doesn't feel like a mistake to me. I can't say on everyone's behalf, but again, it doesn't feel like that to me. And keep in mind, of course, I still want to have a diversified portfolio, but I still want to be able to have ICP as one of my foundational pieces, because I think the internet computer, even though it's a pretty big project, I think it's kind of underrated for what it is, because if we take a look at the fundamentals and also we take a look at just the kind of the concept behind it, it seems like it should be somewhat on par, or should I say like viewed as in the same regard as like a Solana or like a BNB chain or whatever, but then it's not, right? So then I kind of feel like this is as if I went back in time and was able to also, in a sense, kind of get into like Solana or like, something like BNB back then. But then the way I view it is that there's no guarantees. I'm just really bullish on the internet computer. And when I see stuff like this, I'm very excited. Keep in mind, altcoins usually, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. The last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year. So we had 18 months on top of that. That's around October this year. So I think that even if, let's say, the markets were doing very amazing, even as of right now, might not be a time where altcoins are supposed to peak as a worst case scenario anyways. So then if I kind of feel that way, I just kind of feel like, yeah, sure, there's a pullback, but you know what? I feel like this run might not be over just yet. However, only time will tell. I'm going to still stay consistent and just wait. That's it, because that's the only thing I can control. It's only the captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.